Hello and welcome again to another episode of our ongoing series, Surviving Broker Business in the Time of COVID-19. We took a short break during Holy Week and we hope that you've had a good Holy Week, even during this ECQ period. Of course, if you have any questions that you'd like to ask our panel, please ask them on the comment section and we'll try to get their answers to you as soon as possible. We'll also be asking these questions on the next episode of Surviving Broker Business in the Time of COVID-19. And today I have with me Caren Tiangco, President and owner of ExpertMarketing Corp. And we also have Mr. Karl Constantine Reyes, President and CEO of KPM Real Estate. Thank you, both of you, for giving us the time today. Caren, I understand it's your birthday. Happy birthday! Thank you for taking a bit of time to to have this discussion with us. So now, as always, the structure of this online roundtable will be the following. There's going to be a lot of focus on broker business, then followed by tips for property seekers and investors. And finally, we will take on questions from our viewers. And with that, let's start with our first question, Caren. Caren, Karl, with the news of the extension of ECQ, what are your plans for your broker business in terms of 1, lead generation, 2, viewing, and 3, closing? So it's quite a lot, and I think maybe we can start with you, Caren.
Okay. Fortunately, our company, Expert Realty, has always been into digital marketing. Mm-hmm. We've been posting our listings in Lamudi for the past maybe 3-4 years or so. Very much since we started, we've been there. So that has helped us in lead generation, in doing digital trippings because of the photos that are already there in the ad. Mm-hmm. And during this time of COVID, of course, the only thing you really can't do is physical tripping. That's not allowed, right? Mm-hmm. I've tried an attempt of viewing outside the house, but of course, after a while, the owner felt, we can't let you in. Everyone's like not comfortable making people go inside. So I didn't set up any more trippings after that because there's really a lot of risk. The other factor is government is closed, mm-hmm. so you can't really process titles. So I think this time we should put effort in doing a lot of lead generation, and that's mm-hmm. by continually listing and putting posts out there on your property. And there are still inquiries even if it's COVID time. Actually, I feel they have more time to browse, the buyers, and they have more time to think about it. And maybe for people who are having a hard time, they are more motivated to sell, or they might want a better home because since we need to stay at home, might as well have the best house you can have, right? So there's actually time to do real estate. It's just that you can't physically close. Mm-hmm. We're not allowed to make move-ins or do government transactions. But now is the best time to do lead generation. And since we have a lot of time now, we can reopen our old networks, our batchmates from high school, college, our workmates in the past, do a lot of checking because that really sparks the relationship again, right? It may not mm-hmm. be real estate for now, but it can be real estate in the future. And so the past month, I was thinking, since you don't really expect much income from real estate today, mm-hmm. even our construction had to stop, I'm mm-hmm. doing food business on the side. And that has allowed me to make more connections with more people all over the city mm-hmm. because we're distributing food, right? So, mm-hmm. and all those are potential future clients, in real estate. They could be sellers or they could be buyers. So I'm just thinking of this occasion positively, that it's just like a regeneration time, a reset button, and soon enough we will survive this.
All right. That's a good idea, setting up a different business to potentially lead them to real estate. And what about you, Karl? What are your plans, or what have you been doing in terms of generation, viewing, and closing?
Yeah, well, I agree with Caren. There's definitely a big slowdown, especially because we couldn't do viewings. However, yeah, we're really keeping our business going, working from home, all of my staff, mm-hmm. especially agents, everybody's working from home. We're doing a lot of lead generation as well, as well as we are very vigilant right now in communicating with our clients,
Mm-hmm.
the relationship going with our co-brokers, um, especially in this time of uncertainty. What else can you do? But of course, in this time of crisis, there's also opportunity that can be um, taken advantage of, and
Mm-hmm.
we're trying to maximize that opportunity. Um, Speaking on a real estate broker point of view, we're trying to find good deals that are starting to come up and presenting those to our clients. If we can't afford them ourselves, we'll try to get a group of clients to invest. I'll give you an example. Um, like right now in the US, there's been a lot of what you call this unemployment. No, not
Mm-hmm.
like Philippines. You can't just fire somebody, right? But in other countries, there's a lot of unemployment, and it's staggering. In the US, in Australia. So we have some, I would say, previous buyers who bought some of our properties before pre-selling,
Mm-hmm.
or have decided to resell them again because they don't have already the funds
Mm-hmm.
to continue the amortization, or they'd rather use the funds for more essential needs, no?
Mm-hmm.
So they've been contacting us to resell it na lang, basta balik na lang yung investment nila. We have some of those already. We're watching for several markets very keenly in certain areas that have been what you call this a little bit overpriced because of the recent surge of the Chinese market.
Mm-hmm.
So some of them have decided, oh, sige, we'll just let this go na lang. Will not be too ambitious on making a lot of money on selling this property, and deciding to sell it na lang at market or even below market value. So we're always I've trained my staff, my agents, to really look around and talk to people, and we have a huge database of people that we can talk to. Because basically that a lot of lead generation, a lot of communication with clients, and funny, Karen mentioned she's getting into the food delivery.
Mm-hmm.
We were thinking of doing that also. Wala rin ako masyadong magagawa. I know how to cook, and thinking of doing that also. Uh, but yeah, that's what we're doing, and that's all we could do at the moment. Everything's home based, and we're trying to work with technology as much as we can, with the limited resources we have. But it's a good thing. Most of my staff have Wi-Fi, and I
Mm-hmm.
made sure Wi-Fi at home and in their home that they had Wi-Fi, so we communicate regularly, and you know, um, basically posting. Still, we're still alive on Viber groups, and mostly just using the internet.
All right. So with that, right? So we've been in ECQ for a little over a month now, and I think a lot of brokers and broker companies have, tried to or are being creative with the solutions that they have, in terms of surviving this quarantine period. Um, have you seen any best practices, or perhaps you have found practices that you're doing right now that's actually working and helping in your business? I think, Carl, would you like to start with this one?
I'm sorry. What was the question again?
The question was, have you seen or are you doing any best practices that you feel are working during this quarantine period?
Well, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
As I mentioned a while ago, what we're really doing now is, well, um, even though the business was going pretty well
Mm-hmm.
before the quarantine period, we had certain practices that we already doing.
Mm-hmm.
Other than viewing, other than physically meeting our clients, we're engaging with a lot of them online, and whatever, we're not letting this uh, parang crisis, try to slow us down.
Mm-hmm.
We are really raking everything up. We're increasing our market exposure, our communication. If we're talking to 10 people a day, the last time now we're talking to 20.
Wow.
You know, we're trying to maximize our time um, at home. You know, other than I tell my staff, you should focus on being healthy and not making your mind idle. Um, at the same time, there's still a lot of things you can do at home, work related. So there's a lot of things that's going on behind the scenes,
Mm-hmm.
and very progressive with our efforts for the company. Kasi of course, but since the lockdown, since the quarantine,
Mm-hmm.
there's no new revenue that's been coming in. It's really basically just um, preparing for the opening. So we
Mm.
believe very strongly that because of the efforts we're doing right now in this situation, when the market starts to open slowly, it's not really going to open immediately. Suddenly, everybody's going to go to work and
Mm-hmm.
everything's going to be. But when it starts to open, especially if we can start viewings already, I mean, we already have a lot of viewing schedules on hold,
Mm.
and them are um, ready to view as soon as possible. So we've been very active in creating that schedule. So basically, that's majority of the activity of the company at the moment.
All right. And Karen, I'll repeat the question. The question is, what have what have been your best practices, or have you seen any best practices from your network, maybe as to how they deal with the crisis or with this quarantine period?
Yes. Now, in this period, you really realize the importance of doing digital viewing, and that's like a video tour of the property, not just photos, but going through the floor plan. So I think one of the things we should spend time when we're listing is really doing a good video of the property, so that offline, buyers who are not physically there, the OFWs, will get a chance to really feel the property. So I do that a lot in my listings, but of course not consistently. And now you realize it should be something that should be there all the time. the the video.
But yes, this is really, something that a lot of people have been realizing. Okay, we need to jump into digital, or if they have been halfway through it, a lot are realizing, oh, we should do this more fully, and this should be something that's more aggressive. But I'm happy to know that for Karl, you've doubled the conversations that you've been having every day with your clients. And Karen, you continue to work with your network, and you've noticed that there might be a sudden increase of interest in your listings. Particularly, what do you see are the listings that have become more interesting during this ECQ? Like, have you noticed, okay, in my listings right now, I have this certain property that a lot of people are taking notice versus other properties? And maybe we could start with Karen. Can you let us know if there's a certain listing, or if there's a certain type of listing that people are interested in right now?
Something interesting to share is
Mm-hmm.
we are getting requirements for listings near hospitals.
Oh, okay.
That's one,
Okay.
like search for townhouse near Cardinal Santos Hospital or Makati Med. And I don't know why. Is it because more people got sick, or they're more aware of their health and they want to live near the hospital? The other thing that struck me was some of the listings that were like leisure listings, such
Mm-hmm.
as beach houses, are getting more attention now. And maybe that's what I was saying, that more people have time to browse, and maybe they spot something that they are not really looking for, but then suddenly there's something interesting in their dreams, right? They're like maybe envisioning a beach house, and now they're looking for beach house listings, something like that. So otherwise, it's pretty much the norm. Good value lots, their future home. It's the same type of inquiries. But those two things I just found
I guess because of it's either people find a need to be closer to the hospital, or people find a need to actually invest in what they really want right now. Karl, how about you? Have you noticed anything interesting in terms of your listings?
Yeah, I just turned on the light. Well, interestingly, what Karen mentioned about the beach listing, we had an inquiry on a beach house. I found it unusual. We don't normally inquiries on beach houses, but I just got it the other day, a beach house in Batangas. And I don't know, I haven't really interviewed the person. We just talked. I didn't interview yet why. But maybe I believe it's a separation to society, or maybe they wanted
Mm.
to, kasi uh, we're at a point in time right now in our history that we can actually segregate from the city.
Yeah.
Kasi we have a Wi-Fi that connects us already. We have deliveries, farm to market, or from the, we can deliver stuff to the house. So people are starting to move out. I don't know. Maybe that's just a hunch. Also, um, in terms of inquiries, um, basically the lower end properties, we got several more than the higher end ones like Forbes Park or Serendra. We still have a lot of those, but now basically we stand still. But we've got increase on townhouses pa rin in Quezon City, in Paranaque, ranging from 6 million to 10 million. We still got, I mean, people still need to live somewhere. Uh, housing is still a very important factor. I think the inquiries and the attractiveness of an investment or a secondary home, that's the one that kind of slowed down. But more on the necessity listings, we got some of them, so that's still alive.
All right. That's good to hear. And now from moving from broker business, that we can move to questions for property seekers or investors. Um, for one thing, of course, with it's been a month already, and there has been a lot of clients calling up brokers and talking, or there's been a lot of online conversations that are being had between their brokers and clients. I'm sure you two have also had the same situation where clients will come up to you with their own questions. So what are their usual concerns or interests or requests of property seekers for you guys today? What's their main top of mind thought now during this quarantine period? Karen, can we start with you?
Yes, for the investor type clients, of course, they're like asking for good deals from motivated sellers.
Mhm.
Usually in times of crisis, the motivated sellers will be there, and the ones that have liquidity would want to invest at that time because they feel it's a good time to get prices at a low price. For the end users or first-time buyers, it's the financing schemes. They're asking,
Mhm.
would there be more lenient, financing schemes to make the houses and the properties more affordable for them? Maybe not in terms of having to a price decrease, but longer payment terms or cheaper interest. So
Mhm.
those are the things they're looking forward to. It might delay decisions for a while, but those are the things that are probably making them wonder.
Mm. Uh, for you, Carl?
um well,
Check sa
you're
messenger.
asking how long is the coronavirus going to last. I'm going to go.
Messenger.
I
I.
watch YouTube. I'm as clueless as you are. They asked me, well, actually, it's more like some of our existing clients asking about whether, because we sold some pre-selling developments.
Mhm.
So they're asking if the developers would give like a grace period, grace month in the amortization payments.
Mhm.
Uh, Residential rentals, also grace period. Commercial rentals, also grace. Mostly ganon, kung the landlords and the developers can give grace periods on payments. Mostly those that I'm sure they're very in tune with whatever's happening. I mean, YouTube's there. I'm sure they watch what's happening. But in terms of what service we can provide, they ask us mostly um, on the rentals and amortizations.
And if I may add, for both of you, have you noticed if if some developers or landowners are more willing nowadays to also be more lenient with payment schemes? Because I know like this has always been the number one question of a
Mhm.
lot of property renters, right? Or even property seekers, that they desire a little bit more leniency towards payment options. So is this something that you also see with your network of sellers, or with your network of landlords? Are they more willing to be more open to this type of to this type of situation? We can start with Karen.
It may, it may be a big need
Mm-hmm.
because everything is all about matching, right? If there
Mm-hmm.
is really less um, money in the economy, at least in the beginning, because of the global deflation, um, you may have to adjust in order to sell.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I also fear for the hospitality industry,
Okay.
um, the hotels, Airbnb, etc. There may be less demand
Yeah.
um, because people will avoid travel, unnecessary travel, and it could affect the inventory that's existing today. Or, for example, I was negotiating for a property sale on land that would be for a hotel.
Mm-hmm.
But after, of course, everything is a halt now, and I'm like thinking, will it still push through? Will they still build the hotel? So it's like a question mark now, and you have to understand if their plans change
Mm.
or get the.
Yeah. Carl, what about you in your network of sellers? Have you noticed that they're a little more open to leniency?
Yeah. Well, we tried it out also because of course in our office
Mm.
uh, we're also paying amortization for some units. So I tried it out first, um, asking some leniency in terms of because there's no business coming in, and it's all gonna trickle all the way back to the banks, naman. But I did ask for some. I think what um, if you're a investor or if you're paying a monthly amortization on something, or I think it's your responsibility to ask your developer landlord for that. They're not,
So it's
business
a
business.
so it's a
I
case
don't
to
think
case
they're
basis, you'd
okay.
say.
I don't think they're gonna like openly give out a letter to
Mm.
everybody. Hey, we're gonna give a grace period to everybody. I think they would consider, or they would assess the situation per request.
Yeah.
I made the request. So far, I was granted. I pushed the request as far as I can, and they said, actually, hanggang ganito lang. We can only give you
Mm.
kasi 1 month pa lang naman eh. I said, can we do until at the end of the quarantine? Siyempre, I want to push. It's a bit of push and pull,
Mm.
but I think responsibility to ask, and then hopefully you get a positive answer from the landlord or the developer, because everybody needs to save money at this point, diba?
Mm.
Um, sorry. Yeah, but I think at this point, our economy is actually going to get hit really bad if this continues a bit long term.
Mm.
So I just need to say this: whoever's watching, please really stay at home and practice social distancing and all that. Because the longer the numbers keep coming up, the longer we can't reach normalcy in our business, and that's just how it's going to be. So, but at this point, everybody needs to help as much they can. Owners, landlords, even brokers. We're trying to help out as much as we can. So, not one business entity or person can can stand alone. Everybody's so
Mm.
interconnected. So everybody really has to chip in and give a part and sacrifice a little bit for for this economy to be stable. That's
All
how
right.
it is.
Right. And from that, I think we can move to our questions from viewers. Well, I've already asked that question. Are they going to be? This is going to be during, but a lot of our viewers seem to speculate that after the quarantine period, there might be some changes in, discounts and payment terms after the lockdown. Do you think that this is going to be a possibility, Karen?
I hope it is a possibility because just like Karl, I will have amortizations to pay for our investments this year. And as I mentioned, in the hospitality, it was a rosy picture before, but maybe not so much now.
Mm-hmm.
In the build and sell, again, we may have had optimistic price projections, but maybe it's not going to be as rosy or as quick to close. So any help from the banking sector will help prop up, the people caught off guard in this pandemic.
All right. Karl, I think you also
So,
answered that question, but if you can add any to that, for
I
after
mean,
naman.
yeah, the economy really, as I mentioned, really interconnected, and a lot
Yes.
of stability would also come from the banks because it
Mm-hmm.
really comes up to them. Um, they're usually sometimes the endpoint, and I don't think they're at a position or they would want to be in a position wherein they hold a lot of foreclosed assets. They don't want to foreclose a property to begin with, let alone so much foreclosed assets, diba? So of course they're going to. I'm really optimistic that they're going to extend leniency, financial leniency, grace periods. I really hope. But at the same time, they're patterning from other countries. I don't know. I talked to some banks already,
Mm-hmm.
and I asked them if they're going to lower interest rates to spur up lending, because of course people, um, the loan activity will be, it's not really going to be a primary motive for a lot of the businessmen right now. So I'm asking the time to lower interest rates, like what they're trying to do sa states. Sa states, sobrang baba ang interest rate. You can borrow money very easily. Um, so um, they answered they're considering, but they cannot give me a final update on that. But definitely they're looking into, um, especially if this thing goes a little bit further
Long.
than the period, they might ease up on the monthly payments. They're thinking about it.
The next question would be probably mostly, is there any advice that you can give for independent brokers and agents who might not have a fixed income? I think it's a common thing, that it's a common situation in our local real estate industry to have a lot of freelance brokers and a lot of freelance agents, who who rely on sales right now. What advice could you give to these members of the real estate industry as to how they can survive this quarantine period, or at least hold on a little longer during this quarantine period? Karen?
Just as I shared, when the QCE was announced in other markets, in other countries, and also in the Philippines, I had to think through and I told myself, I am in the sales business, so what's sellable right now? And that's why I'm trying to be in the food
Mm-hmm.
business. I have a corporation which
Mm-hmm.
has marketing consultancy alongside property. So it was time to reactivate that portion of our thrust as a company. And I did encounter a lot of businesses who are facing tough times because of what happened. They have loads of inventory during the pandemic, during this quarantine that didn't get delivered. And so there's actually like a problem of just distributing and selling that out. So that's what I'm doing now. And as I mentioned, I think the brokers and the agents just need to practice their sales skills, and develop relationship with people. And soon enough, your next product will be realistic, I hope.
All right. Karl, how about you? Any advice that you can give
Um,
for freelancers?
this situation we're facing, it's unprecedented.
Yes.
It's something we've never experienced in our life, even our parents' lives or our grandparents' lives. Very, very unique experience. And imagine this happened during the Spanish influenza, Spanish flu, no, 1900s. This happened. People that time didn't have internet or Wi-Fi or anything. They're basically at home, bored out of their wits. But there was a lot of inventions actually that happened during that time because some enterprising people were really active on thinking of how to solve, what problems there. Because when you're idle, when you're alone, when you're isolated, you get to think a lot. You
Mm-hmm.
get to have a lot of time for yourself. And the beauty about, I would say, the predicament we're in right now, um, where we have the opportunity to learn a lot of things, especially if you have Wi-Fi, you're opening up to a universe of lessons. Imagine you're going to work every day, doing your job, and then you're stuck in traffic, you're wasting time in the car, but you're at home the whole time. My day, I don't want to call this like I'm actually having a good time. That's my situation now. I'm
Mm-hmm.
at home. I spend a lot of time doing the things I like at home. I read a lot of books. There are books I haven't read. I haven't finished reading. Tinatapos ko. I learned there's a Rubik's Cube I had for 2 years na di ko sinolve. I went to YouTube. I studied it. I can finish it in 5 minutes.
Wow.
Now I'm learning to play the guitar. I don't know how to play. But my brother has a guitar. I borrowed it. I don't know how to. I'm starting to. So what I'm trying to say is, you use the internet to learn. So I agree with Karen. Like, I'm telling my agents, even me myself, watch videos on how to improve your skills as a salesperson, building rapport, or how to be a better sales agent, or learning about what's happening around the world at the moment. Because I told them, you're sales consultants, we're consultants, we're not just um, sellers. We're consultants.
Mm-hmm.
So when talk to a client, you just don't know the product you're selling, but you also know the industry, where the industry is going, what's happening in the market, blah blah blah. There's a lot of things, so that builds credibility to you, and that's a lot of things you're not able to do when you were in the office, because you were not wasting time. There's a lot of time spent on other things, but now I'm actually learning so much about a lot of things I want to learn. So maybe make this opportunity wherein, when everything starts to go back to normal and you're back at work, you will be 10 times, 20 times better than before it started. That's how you should look at it.
All right. So I guess to so you were to summarize or to make it easier to summarize the conversation that we just had, I think for Karen it's about diversifying your business right now, and for Karl it's all about diversifying your knowledge. Do
Yeah,
you agree? Oh, there's your
I
Rubik's cube. Yeah.
solved
Yeah.
it.
For my painting. Now I have time to paint, do puzzles, do my actually work from home. Ever since I started on real estate in 2009, I've
Mhm.
been doing my business from my home. So I'm
Mhm.
actually used to
So
staying home.
mm-mm.
And I don't drive, so I usually have trippings carefully scheduled because it takes more resources for someone who does not drive. Right? You have to hire a driver, get a car, to do your duties. that allows me to pre-qualify leads very, very well so that the trippings are efficient. So luckily for me, I've been prepared on that front. And I advise the others to do it, to do the same thing as well.
I guess that is
To pre-qualify.
I guess that's the new normal is going to be more planning and more learning and more taking a lot more time understanding clients and their needs and how you can merge the two in terms of what your objectives are as well. So my last question would be, um, what are your priorities now? Maybe you can give me your top three after in preparing for after ECQ. Are you going to go back to normal, or are you going to experience a new normal? I think we can perhaps go with Karl, since you've already been in digital.
I think uh, when the dust starts to settle, and the tsunami is like the tsunami. And when the waves clear out, we'll have to assess the debris and
Mm-hmm.
see where we're at. How do we move forward? What's the new normal? There's going to be a lot of new things that we'll have to adapt to. Um, Restaurants will change. The way we conduct viewings definitely will change.
Mm-hmm.
We invested in a lot of protective gear. I ordered some protective gear already for the office, gloves, face mask, and goggles. We ordered that already. So we're constantly on Zoom. We do a lot of meetings and brainstorming. How do we move forward? What's the market going to look like? How do we address certain situations? Um, but we can project as much as we can, as
Mm-hmm.
much as we. But until the point that it's actually happening, that's when we'll really find out. But it's a good thing to siguro prepare as early as now, not wasting any day. We're really not wasting any day. Um, so basically, they still earn. I still give them their salary. So I say, you're still an employee, and we still have to, with our limited resources, limited activity, we have to maximize. We have to maximize how we're going to progress the business forward in this quarantine period. So yeah, we're nervous, we're
Mm-hmm.
excited, because it's a new experience. Something if you live by fear, then that's the time when things start to go down. So we're really looking at things optimistically. We're really looking forward to a better industry. You never know. Baka after this, things, the sales will start to rake up, and there's going to be a boom in the real estate industry. We don't know. So we're looking forward to that. And there's still a lot of opportunities. There's still so much opportunities that are there. We just have to shift. I think a lot of the brokers, even myself, we've been so focused on uh,
Teresa.
providing property for the Chinese, because that was where it was so hot, diba?
Mm-hmm.
Was
Mm-hmm.
the right word, I know, was not. It's not anymore, and it's gonna change. It won't be anymore. So we were so focused on that, and we can. Siyempre, I didn't have a major. I didn't want someone daming staff ko. We're a few, so we focused on that because that's where the market was heading. But now we're diverting already to other things. Farmland and beach houses and something else. So yeah, there's gonna be a lot of changes in the market, in ourselves, the office, and we're trying to move slowly. So when it actually happens, hindi ka nagugulat. You're not
Mm-hmm.
shocked.
Mm-hmm.
It's new world where we are.
All right. And Karen, for you, what are your priorities now in preparation for after the ECQ?
Our priorities will be to how to merge our current success in our food trading business with the real estate. But at least I really discovered a lot of my teammates are entrepreneurs,
Mm-hmm.
and we're actually doing very good in our newfound business. And we've helped clients as well with that. And in real estate, I know that this will be a complement. It's like daily income, and real estate closed business is like the bonus income or big
Mm-hmm.
income. And I do have a message for developers. I see a new category of real estate, which is the home offices
Mm-hmm.
building. Because you notice the BPOs, they were looking for hotels near their offices,
Yes.
house their employees. And maybe, who knows, maybe the new kind of office, since we're working 24 by 7 anyway, is like a home office setup already, for all we know. I think homes should also be very wired to the internet already. It's a must because this is the new normal. I think there'll be less visits outside. As long as there's no vaccine out there, I'll be scared to go out and be in social situations. Although that's what I miss the most. As I mentioned before, I was always in digital. I always work from home, so it's not that different from what I already did in the past. What I just miss is like hugging my friends and partying with them, going on my morning walks and doing my Zumba. That's what I.
Yeah. So I guess a lot of focus in digital and seeing where the opportunities are when everything is settled, so that when it's there, when you find it, you guys can just go full
Yes.
full
Full
blast.
swing again. Yes, when government reopens, I have titles to pick up. When there are trippings scheduled already with buyers that have been pre-qualified during this quarantine. So those are the things we need to attend to right away.
All right. And I guess with that, we end this episode of our webinar series. Thank you again to our guests, Caren, Karl. I'm sure
you.
our audience will appreciate it. And of course, for those who are watching live, if you have any questions, feel free to ask on the comments, and we will do our best to get back to you as soon as possible. So stay tuned. Be safe, everyone, and be well. We will see you in the next episode.
Okay. Take care.
Bye.
People